It's great to be with you this morning, and thanks James and Jeff. Thanks for the introduction. Great to be with you. To our customers, we really appreciate the partnership, and we always feel welcome when you're at GE in Australia. So it's great to be here. I've been traveling in the ASEAN region this week, so I've been in Myanmar, Malaysia, Indonesia. Got here last night. I looked out of my hotel room this morning. This beautiful Sydney scene. I mean, it's extraordinary. And then I turn on the TV and I see two politicians debating the renewable energy law in Australia. And then I realize, yes, you are back in Australia. The beauty doesn't last long, and it's great to get back to the issues of the country. So it's great to be here. I personally think the global economy is still okay. You see the U.S. is probably as good as it's been since the financial crisis. Japan and Europe are still slow, but they've been slow for a period of time. And then there's growth opportunities throughout the rest of the world. Our businesses in China and a lot of the emerging markets are still quite strong. So I just think we're in this pattern of slow growth and volatility where growth is available, but you have to go out and find it. And sometimes people's expectations get ahead of the reality, and that creates market perturbations and things like that. But I just think the underlying trends remain the same since the financial crisis, and that's really the world we see. I mean, GE is the world's biggest infrastructure company with a financial services division. In the third quarter this year, our infrastructure orders grew by more than 20%. So we're a pretty good barometer. It's a $110 billion industrial company. And so it's out there if you're out hunting for it and looking to find growth and satisfying customers. The subject today at work, I think, is relevant to every country, every company, every place I go. I would say we do business in 180 countries around the world, and one of the biggest challenges, I think, globally is there's just underemployment in every country I see. United States, Australia, even countries that have full employment, they don't have the wage rates and the wage levels that they want to see. And so I think we're grappling with really one of this generation's most profound issues, and that's just one of underemployment. And you can't solve these things overnight. They're complicated and real. But what I thought I'd talk about is just a couple things in terms of the context I understand, the context of GE. And then you've got great speakers talking about these kind of challenges and the ways that they can be resolved as time goes on. So I'll give you just kind of three ideas today. The first one is you've got to own what's next. You've got to be willing to innovate and advance yourself and kind of own what the next themes are. And one of the most important themes we see around the world is just the merger between the physical world and the analytical world. GE is a 140-year-old company founded by Thomas Edison. We grew up in the physical world. We have material science for decades. We are deep in the physical world. And that physics comes together in aircraft engines and MR scanners and gas turbines and locomotives, and that's what we've done historically. But those products are now surrounded by sensors and controls that literally produce terabytes of data. If you fly from Sydney to Perth, that jet engine is going to create a terabyte of data on how the fuel's being consumed, the heat of the engine, the wear of the blades, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And so if you go to bed at night thinking you're an industrial company, you're going to wake up the next morning as a software and analytical company. It's just as simple as that. And in this framework, there's going to be millions of jobs created globally. This is the next wave of productivity about the context of how these products perform. If we can improve our installed base of jet engines by 1% on fuel performance, that saves the airlines of the world $3 billion. $3 billion. So unlike social media, where you're really talking about connectivity across millions of people, the industrial internet is really about making small changes to high-value assets that drive tremendous outcomes for customers. And so we're investing. There's literally hundreds of millions of dollars being invested in what's called the industrial internet right now. Words like the industrial internet are fancy words that are used to aggregate investors and make headlines. The way I would ask you to think about it, what it really means is no unplanned downtime. If I can walk into an oil and gas CEO's office and say, look, what I'm really thinking about is technology that's going to give you no unplanned downtime, that's probably worth, in that industry alone, tens, if not hundreds of billions of dollars over time. So that's really the promise of the industrial internet, and it can be done anywhere in the world, and it's going to be done everywhere in the world. So that's physics meet analytics. The other piece of physics meet analytics is coming in the realm of manufacturing. Manufacturing is being transformed as we sit here today. It's being digitized. It's really being democratized. New technologies of coding, new technologies of 3D printing, additive manufacturing, new ways to run manufacturing sites with information technology, robotics, sensors on the manufacturing floor is really transforming the way manufacturing works. And in many ways, in that world, wages are less important, and technology and material science is more important. So you really see a shift over the past 20 or 25 years. I'm a 32-year guy at GE. You know, my early jobs in the company were in things called parks. GE Appliance Park or GE Energy Park. And these were built in the 50s and 60s with 30,000 people that would come to work in these big bomber plants. Our average plant right now is 500 people. We can be as productive in a factory of 2 or 3 or 4 or 500 people making high-tech products as we can, and we can do that in any corner of the world. So no longer is manufacturing this endless chase of who has the lowest wages. It's really about technology. It's about digitization. It's about material science, proximity to market, speed to market. And that, again, is the physics meeting the analytics. Every time I'm in Australia, and I love coming here, there's a real crisis of manufacturing and what can we do and all this other stuff. Look, if the average plant size is 400 or 500 people, and it looks like this outside, you might as well do it here. That would be my philosophy, you know? You can do it anywhere, baby, do it here. This is a nice place. So advanced manufacturing, industrial internet, this is the merger of what has been physical science for a long time with information technology and digitization. And again, you know, we know who we are, but we've always been committed as a company to take our industries wherever they go, even if it means we have to teach ourselves new tricks over time. And so, you know, we're trying to add to the strength in physical science into digitization and analytics, and that's really the task of the company. So work on what's next. Those are real opportunities for Australia. Number 2 is build ecosystems. You know, we're a big company, but for every GE job around the world, there's 8 in the supply chain. We purchase $15 billion a year from companies that are less than $100 million in revenue. I mean, the power of ecosystems and the ability to link ecosystems now, again, with digitization and new information technology tools is massively important. So we never think that we need to invent everything under our own roof. Our ability to partner with universities or think tanks or suppliers or startup companies in which we have a portfolio of investments over time are all part of the GE ecosystem. So, you know, when it comes time to solve big challenges, to drive customer outcomes, we don't try to do that on our own. We try to build systems that can help us do that. You're going to hear in a few minutes kind of one of the big quests inside GE is the study of the brain. You know, this is one of the most interesting parts of healthcare today, largely understudied for a generation. Massive work needs to be done. This is going to take the academic community, startups, big companies, all the way around. And we use sessions like this today, and we use sessions like this around the world to be an aggregator of thinking at GE, but we don't need to do it all ourselves. So one of the notions of what's at work or what's relevant about work is this connected world, leveraging the connected world to build ecosystems and build power, and that's hugely important. Again, opens up big opportunities for Australia as well. And the third thing I thought I'd talk about today is just the importance of culture. You know, big companies, it's easy to get to be impossible to work with and impossible to make it joyful for people to come to work. And so it's important for companies like GE to kind of blow themselves up every 10 or 15 years and be willing to think about ways to do things differently. And for us, we're in 180 countries around the world across 8 business platforms. And our wrestling is just, you know, how do we end complexity inside the company? And how do we simplify in order to drive more purpose inside the company? And so for all my fellow business people in the room today, business leaders in the room today, go back and test yourselves about, are the teams really working on what's most important? Have we complicated their work too much? And inside the company right now, we're driving incredible simplification. You know, for years I stood up in front of people and said, we want you to do more with less. Now we say we want you to do less, but we want you to do it better, right? And I think business in this generation is really about doing fewer things and doing them better, having everything revolve around customers and markets, teaching every employee, whether you're in finance or legal or HR or sales, the customer determines your future, putting everything back on the clock. So inside the company today, we put all of our systems, everything we do is now measured very intensely around speed, outcomes to each other, and just achieving our digital entitlement as ways to be a simpler company to work in, to do business with, and fast enough to use our size as an advantage and not make it a disadvantage. So those are my three ideas. Physical is meeting the analytical. That's going to open up massive opportunities. Ecosystems. If you're, one of the challenges and one of the opportunities for a country like Australia is to marry hundreds of small business around big industries like natural gas or other technologies that exist out there. So building big alliances in the ecosystem and just drive more purpose through simplification and making that the mantra of how you go forward. And those things are all incredibly important for GE as we go forward. So let me end there. I'm going to have a chance to speak later today with Richard. Again, I'd end by saying it's always great to be in this country, and there's got massive opportunities we see for GE, and we want to continue to invest and build capability here as well. So thank you very much. James, I'll turn it back over to you.